Hello, and welcome to my series, Have You Ever Wondered? In this episode, we will look at direct quoting, making changes to quotations and preserving the context. In this video, we will explore elements of quoting directly with reference to the publication manual of the American Psychological Association, APA for short. We'll have a look at the idea of making changes to direct quotations, along with the necessity of preserving the original context of a quotation. Accuracy is the hallmark of quoting directly. The publication manual tells us direct quotations must be accurate. The quotation must match the wording, spelling, and interior punctuation of the original source, even if the source is incorrect. Straying away from the hallmark of accuracy can have serious consequences, especially in the realm of tattoos. In this example, a judo instructor wanted to emphasize her belief in strength. Turning to the rules of APA, capturing the belief should be represented as follows. The judo instructor was passionate about her, quote, core belief in strength. However, there are provisions in APA for making changes to direct quotations. This spelling error may be represented like this. The judo instructor was passionate about her, quote, core beliefs in strength, square bracket, SIC. Making changes. Making changes to direct quotes. Let's talk about those rare instances when changes to direct quotes are beneficial and perhaps even necessary. Making changes to direct quotes may be discussed in two subtopics. 1, changes that require no explanation for the reader, and 2, changes requiring an explanation for the reader. Let's consider no explanation first. Making changes to direct quotations should be made with an eye to improving the readability and understanding of the quoted text. Here are some types of changes that can be made without alerting the reader. 1, the first letter of the first word of a quotation may be changed to an uppercase letter or a lowercase letter to fit the context. Here is an example. The original text. While the ships were building, the war feeling against France was steadily growing, and the enthusiasm of the people over the infant navy knew no bounds. And here we go with our direct quote. Abbott, 1890, captures the general feeling by noting that while the ships were building, the war feeling against France was steadily growing, and the enthusiasm of the people over the infant navy knew no bounds. As you can see, we changed the W to a lowercase. Also, single quotation marks may be changed to double quotation marks, and vice versa. And for the opposite, explaining it to me one more time. Keeping in mind that accuracy in a direct quote is paramount, there are only a few situations where a direct quote may be altered to improve readability with some of the changes requiring no explanation for the reader and some of the changes needing an explanation. Explaining a change to the reader is contained within the change action itself. There are 3 types of instances when a change might warrant an explanation. 1. Omitting material. 2. Inserting material. And 3. Adding emphasis. Let's consider omitting material. Omit material to shorten a sentence or tie 2 sentences together. Use an ellipsis to indicate to the reader that you have omitted words within a quotation. Example: Abbott, 1890, captures the general feeling by noting that, while the ships were building, the emphasis of the people over the infant navy knew no bounds. Also, do not use an ellipsis at the beginning or end of any quotation unless the original text includes an ellipsis. Moving on to inserting material. Occasionally, an explanation or an addition is useful to illuminate the text and adding clarity for the reader. Use square brackets to enclose the explanation or addition. Here is an example. Abbott, 1890, captures the general feeling by noting that while the ships were building, the enthusiasm of the people, square brackets, especially the war hawks in the southern states, over the infant navy knew no bounds. And now moving on to adding emphasis. If you want to draw attention to a particular part of a quotation, such as a word, a few words, or a phrase, use italics. Immediately following the italicized text, include the words emphasis added, enclosed within square brackets. Once again, we have an example. Abbott, 1890, captures the general feeling by noting that while the ships were building, the enthusiasm, emphasis added, of the people, especially the war hawks in the southern states, over the infant navy knew no bounds. Continuing on, let's keep it real, as they say. Let's discuss what we have learned by examining an article in the Journal of Medical Practice Management. We'll take a look at the article titled Traumatized by Practice, PTSD in Physicians, written by Dr. Arthur Lazarus. You can find the article through the library's e-journal collections. Using the primary search box, we'll enter the article's title. Let's go ahead. We've moved to the college library's homepage. We'll scroll down, use the primary search box, and enter the title of our article. Traumatized by Practice, PTSD in Physicians. And we can go directly into the article by opening the full text. This screen prompts us to enter our MyCentennial credentials. And away we go. Let's have a look at the article as it appears in the PDF. At one point, Dr. Lazarus writes, Emergency physician Dr. Edwin Leap observed a significant number. Now, if we want to find this quotation, we'll use the Control F feature and type some of the text. Here we are here. Emergency physician Dr. Edwin Leap observed a significant number of our colleagues in emergency care, and I'll continue on my PowerPoint slide where I've reproduced the text in question. Emergency physician Dr. Edwin Leap observed a significant number of our colleagues in emergency care become gravely wounded, ironically wounded, one might say, as they try to help and heal. They develop post-traumatic stress disorder. A physician spends decades watching the lifeblood drain out of people, giving them bad news, seeing the effects of drugs and violence, and pronouncing people dead. Let's consider what we have learned. Because accuracy is the calling card of quoting directly, it seems useful to step into the shoes of Dr. Lazarus and check the accuracy of his quote. Referring to his list of references, it appears that Leap's article resides here in an article with the following title: "Stop Sucking It Up," as it appears in a publication called Emergency Medical News. And here we go here, we can scroll down, check the references, number 6, Leap, Stop Sucking It Up, Emergency Medical News. We can turn our attention to that article by skipping through another source that you may be familiar with. And sooner rather than later, we are into the original source quoted by Dr. Lazarus. And once again, we can use our Control F feature to find the particular place in the text where the quotation was taken. Leap writes, "A significant number of our colleagues in emergency care, however, don't purge and don't forget. They become gravely wounded, ironically wounded, one might say, as they try to help and heal. They develop post-traumatic stress disorder." If we refer back to Dr. Lazarus' writing, it appears that he has used the ellipsis correctly to shorten the passage and tie two sentences together. However, as we'll soon see, things have gone off the rails. Back to our PowerPoint. Things have gone off the rails. As we see, the next portion of Leap's writing reads, "But we don't talk about it much because we can handle it, right?" However, Dr. Lazarus continues, incorrectly quoting Leap by writing, "A physician spends decades." So we see here, continuing from post-traumatic stress disorder, Dr. Lazarus writes, "A physician spends decades watching the lifeblood," whereas Dr. Leap does this. They develop post-traumatic stress disorder, and now he writes, "But we don't talk about it much because we can handle it, right?" As it turns out, Dr. Lazarus appears to have misquoted the work of Dr. Leap. In this example, there are no less than 694 words separating they develop post-traumatic stress disorder from a physician. In other words, almost the entire remainder of the article has gone by. Well, let's make it right. There are a few ways in which we can help Dr. Lazarus get it right. Let's see what we can do. Considering the wide chasm, 694 words to be precise, between the first part of the quoted text and the second part, it may be practical to break up the quoted text and cover it in two separate sentences. Here is an example of a corrected version. Dr. Lazarus might instead have written the following. Emergency physician Dr. Edwin Leap, 2013, observed, a significant number of our colleagues in emergency care become gravely wounded, ironically wounded, one might say, as they try to help and heal. They develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Perhaps we should not be surprised, considering Leap's further analysis. A physician, square brackets, and other healthcare professionals spend decades watching the lifeblood drain out of people, giving them bad news, seeing the effects of drugs and violence, and pronouncing people dead. Analysis. In this corrected version, the reader is made aware of the fact that the two quoted sections come from different parts of the article and do not reside in close proximity to one another. For APA compliance, in-text citation elements including date and page number have been added. Furthermore, the ellipsis following pronouncing people dead at the end of the quoted part has been removed because it does not appear in the original text written by Dr. Leap. And now, preserving the context. For now, we'll turn to a short note about the second part of our video presentation on elements of quoting directly, and that is, as I said, preserving the context. Writing a quote accurately also means preserving the context. It is vital to convey to readers both the exact words of the quoted material along with the original author's intended meaning. For example, Dr. Lazarus is writing about the experiences of physicians. However, in the parts taken from Dr. Leap is talking about physicians along with nurses and medics. Dr. Lazarus wrote, a physician spends decades watching the lifeblood drain out of people, whereas Dr. Leap wrote, but a physician, nurse, or medic who spends decades watching the lifeblood drain out of people. As we saw, I have structured the compromise position in this way. A physician, square brackets, and other healthcare professionals spends decades watching the lifeblood drain out of people. As we saw earlier, it is possible in APA to change the first letter of the first word to a capital or lowercase without informing the reader. Therefore, the lowercase a has been capitalized. Finally, as a compromise position, I have used the APA technique of inserting explanatory material in square brackets. In this way, the emphasis is still on physicians while acknowledging that Dr. Leap has taken a wider scope. Now, further reading. To review, Information about the principles of direct quotation can be found in the APA Publication Manual beginning with section 8.25. And that concludes this episode. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.